Hi, Shira, and welcome. Welcome to our Guest at Home virtual meetup. Welcome everybody who's joining us. It's great to have you all with us, and another awesome, great speaker this time again from the US. I was talking to a client earlier on, and we were discussing the problem that COVID-19 has brought to us. And I'm like, on the other hand, we've been doing meetups since March 20th, and looking at our speakers, more than half of our speakers are not even based in Greece, which is amazing that with a push of the button, you can just connect anywhere, that we have a community globally, that we have friends and community and partners all over the world. And that we get together, you share your insights and your expertise. We have a nice conversation like this. And it's a great afternoon, a great way to spend the afternoon with friends and welcome new people to the community. So Shira will be sharing with us today a playbook to get started. I'm really eager in hearing your presentation, and I've got a couple of questions on my own. So Shira, welcome.
Hi. So specifically, I'm not just doing a playbook to get started. I'm doing a playbook to get started on ABM, which is account-based marketing. So what is ABM? ABM is account-based marketing, as I mentioned before. So what is that? So we're going to cover what account-based marketing is, what success is, who owns what, why you should care. Not everybody should care about account-based marketing. It's not appropriate for every kind of sale. It is appropriate if you have a large system or a complex system or an expensive system. Expensive. Depends on who you're selling it to, right? So if you're selling to an enterprise and your sale is typically above 100,000 a year, and you're going to grow it to be over $1 million a year, then account-based marketing makes sense for you. Most likely you have an account executive, you have a sales executive, and you have a team of marketers supporting your team of account executives and sales executives to be able to connect with the customer. The customer is typically an enterprise, because who else has the money to be able to spend on 100,000 and up a year? And so it takes a different kind of sale. It's not just, one person going in, looking at a list and saying, I'm going to choose that one. Okay, which is all online marketing. This type of marketing requires a deeper relationship, a certain level of trust. Spending that much money and making a mistake means somebody could lose their job. So you definitely have to build up trust. You have to understand who you're selling to and what you're selling and what the benefit is for them. So it's a completely different type of sale. If you haven't done this kind of sale before and it's relevant to you, here's how you get started. So as I've already covered, here's what is and who it is for. And ABM is specifically for companies that are selling to enterprise. A land and expand model, typically for SaaS companies. If you have an on-premise solution, it may not be land and expand. The sales cycle is it usually starts off fairly quick, 3 to 6 months, because you're selling to people that you already know if you have a startup. Then you go through the cycle where you've sold to everyone you already know. Suddenly it gets to being 1 year to 2 years for a sales cycle, because you have to find who's appropriate, have them build trust. They need to know that you're actually going to be around longer than just a year or whatever, and then get them to actually go through and do the sale. That takes time. As you grow in the industry, you'll find your sales cycle, as your team grows and you go to more events and you get better known, your sales cycle goes back down to between 3 to 6 months to 6 months to a year for your average sales cycle. Again, it never gets to be something where it's just like boom, 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 because it's not that kind of sale. And that's why it can be a high touch sale, because it's a high value sale. Now you have to define success. Without defining success, you have no idea if you're actually successful or not. To do account-based marketing well, you have to align sales and marketing. The two teams need to work together. Marketing is there to back up sales with the materials they need, but they're also there to build the lead list and work with sales on the right leads to pull them in and get the information that they need in order to pull the right leads in. Traditionally, Well, not traditionally, because this is actually how things were done way back in the day before the internet. It was all account-based marketing, and it was events and direct mail and phone calls and showing up at the office and building those relationships one-on-one. Internet comes in, sales teams want tons of leads. So marketing is told, bring me a ton of leads. They bring a ton of leads. However, leads aren't so good, because if you just said bring a ton of leads, you're not really qualifying. When you qualify and you work together with sales on exactly what they're looking for, what are the titles they typically sell to? What's their sales process? Okay. How long does it typically take? Who do they speak to during that process? What type of questions do they get? Where do things drop off? When you know where things drop off, you know what kind of materials you have to create in order to answer or help along the questions and the doubts, because it is a large sale. So there's a lot of fear based in that. So with all of that, you have to figure out, all right, what are the KPIs to measure? Well, one of them is the sales accepted leads. That's pretty much your main one, right? Because if sales doesn't accept the leads, what's the point of doing any of this work? You're going to have significantly less leads than you would through a normal campaign, which is a little on the spray and pray side. As you're going along, you get less leads, but those leads are better targeted, so they make more sense. All right. You also have to map out, okay, multiple touch points. What are the touch points going to be? You need clear handoffs with smooth transitions. That means you're going to be going through and saying, all right, here's so-and-so, you're going to be meeting on this date. Here's what you're going to be talking about. And then you follow up to make sure. That's the general idea of what success is. And then you go in and you figure out, all right, how successful were we on these points afterwards? And you adjust. Who owns what in an ABM campaign? Pretty typical, like most other campaigns. The CMO or the VP or the head of marketing gets to decide what the goal is of the actual campaign. That would be the numbers and maybe the timeline. If the goal is to increase velocity, the goal could be to increase the velocity of the sale. All right. Let's say you were at the quick sale stage because you were selling to people you know. Now you're selling to people you don't know, and you're in the 1 year to 2 year stage of the sale. Well, maybe you want to bring it back down to being only, you want your sale average to be between 3 to 9 months. How do you do that? That means you're going to be showing up to more events. They need to build awareness. You need to build trust in your brand. That's a lot of brand marketing. There's different things that you're going to be doing. What's the goal of this campaign specific? You have to negotiate the actual numbers. How many sales accepted leads are they expecting? Manage expectations with sales and the CEO. So corporate, I am assuming that you're already in an enterprise, but if you're not in an enterprise, then you won't have the difference between corporate and division marketing. You're going to have it all together in one if you're a startup. So you've got the high level messaging, brand, verticals, and journey. Product marketing could be a different person, may not be. Pull all that together if that's how it is in your organization. On the sales side, you also need to figure out the goal of the campaign. The sales gives the parameters for the list. Marketing typically is the one who builds and researches the list. The more marketing understands about the customer that you're aiming for and the targets, the better they're going to be able to do at creating the materials, figuring out what's important to them, and actually pulling them in. The SDR could be on the marketing side, could be on the sales side, depends on the organization. They're going to be sending out those emails and doing a lot of the actual legwork. However, it's not just marketing and sales that cares about account-based marketing. Your C-suite will care because a well-chosen customer has a higher customer lifetime value. Inside sales, it's easier to sell more to a current customer than it is to a new one. If you choose the right one and they are well chosen with a perfect fit, you're going to be able to expand that account a lot easier. It's also going to be more successful to be able to implement. Active customers give better feedback. You can read the whole list here. I don't need to give all this to you. So after this, I will be sending out a landing page where you could download the ebook. So we could get you that information later. Or if you'd like more information after this book is fully designed, you can email me and I'll give that information at the end as well. And if you have any questions while I'm talking, you could actually feel free to ask during I'm going to open somewhere here. There's actually, I have no idea where it is, where the chat box is, but somewhere there's a chat box. So Maria can let me know and I can answer questions as we go along. Now, I'm assuming that this is going to be a SaaS sale. And SaaS goes with the land and expand model, where you have awareness, attraction, nurture, convert, negotiate, right? You have to include that in, because just because they said yes doesn't mean you're done. You get to negotiate, go through, and finally you have a closed win. Yay! Then you go on to onboarding them. How successful is the onboarding? Are you getting a feedback loop? Now, customer success, let's land and expand. This is the expand side of the account. Then you start building more relationships in the account. You're working with one division. Can you introduce me to somebody else in another division? How about that person over there? What about them? And expand. So now you're working with multiple people in the same account, multiple divisions. And that's how you grow a $100,000 account to $1 million account. How do you measure for optimization? Okay. What's your big audacious goal? SMART goals are not enough. SMART goals get us to think in a very tiny mindset where we're going to just do these little things, but it doesn't bring huge results. The theory is now in organizational behavior is to combine SMART goals with the big audacious goal. So you go with the one really intense, huge goal, and from there, you add the SMART goals underneath it as a list. Okay, and that's how you baby step it up to the huge audacious goal. And then what are your key performance indicators? So things to look at: website, visits and time on site. If they've gone up, that means people are looking at your site. Most of the time in most long-term enterprise sales, decisions are made. They're about 60% of the way done with their decision-making process by the time they contact you. And I'm pretty sure that information comes from Serious Decisions research. That means your website has to be really on point. It has to give really good and helpful information. You need to have tracking on that website to see what people are looking at, who's looking at it, and how long they're looking at it. Email, open rate, and click-through rate. So of course, open rate, it shows you how good your subject line is. Click-through rate, it shows you how good your offering is. If you find one better than the other, you need to figure out what's going wrong. Email 2, you had an open rate of 28. Email 3, you had an open rate of 8. What was it? Was it the subject? Was it time of day you sent it? Like, there's things that you need to test and figure out. Social media engagement, blog, post visit time on site, all of these things. They help show the interest of the materials you're sending out. So they are simply signals. I'm not using them as vanity metrics. I'm using them as a way to figure out if we're on track or not on track. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the sales accepted leads are your main indicator. And here they are, sales accepted leads, all right? That's something you really want to make sure you keep an eye on. Deal velocity, another thing. As I mentioned earlier, you start off usually 3 to 6 months because you're selling to people you know. Then suddenly it moves up to 1 year to 2 years and you're in a world of pain. How do you get past that? You need to increase your deal velocity. So that's another thing. And then cost per lead, ideal customer profile, you need to live on that. Website bounce rate, win-loss ratio. So these are all the things we'll show you. How close am I to where I need to be? And you need to watch all of that. Other things to consider: what's your competitor map? What's everybody else doing? Do you even check that? Do you see what are they doing in their marketing? Where are they winning? Where are they losing? Where are the opportunities? We do a lot of that for our own customers. I have an agency. I didn't really introduce myself earlier. So funnel health. All right. Have you reviewed it to see what's working and what's broken? These are things you need to constantly be looking at. While you're going through your campaign, I would have maybe bi-weekly check-ins. So that would be every other week. Check-ins to see, all right, here's what we did. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't. Or maybe you simply review what worked, what didn't. Let's figure out where we are in all of this. Take notes on all of it, because you're going to be turning all of this afterwards into a best practice playbook for your own organization. So as you pull more people on and you grow, it's a lot easier for you to pull those people on and onboard them and have them up to speed faster so that they can be effective as quickly as possible. You have to think about not just what you're doing for now, but how you're going to be doing all of these things for later so that you can grow. I mentioned earlier that sales is going to be telling you what parameters you have to build that list. This helps you work with sales on figuring out, maybe they don't have a general idea. So you have to start asking questions. What questions should you be asking? Well, what are the relevant data points? What are the titles? What revenue size of the company is it? We just did one with a client and we were looking for manufacturers in the Fortune 2000, at the bottom of the Fortune 2000 that were in a very specific space. So then we went and researched the bottom 500 of the Fortune 2000. We found certain titles and we got about 10 to 15 people per company that we are aiming for. And we're building the campaign. We built the materials for each one. We built things per title. And materials such as we built very customized and targeted ebooks that are incredibly segmented, right? As I said, this only makes sense to do if you have a high cost sale. Now, research the company, vertical, geography, find the targets. Where do they live online? Are they on LinkedIn? Are you going to be doing LinkedIn sponsored post ads? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook? Can you find them in all of these different places? What is their email? You can use multiple different email hunting tools. There's Hunter, there's Snove. There's like a bunch of them where you can go and find someone's email. Work with sales on the number of leads that they can actually handle. If it is a high touch sale, they can't take 5,000 leads, right? They're not going to accept 5,000 leads. So do they want 3, 4 a month, maybe 2? How many can they actually handle per month? You're going to be changing up your outreach according to this. Sales is a numbers game, but you have to make sure that they're the right numbers. Make the list trackable, automated, and include A/B testing. So you're going to have a spreadsheet. If you're not using a platform like DemandBase or something like this, you're going to be using a spreadsheet that puts it all together. And in there, you're going to have pivot tables. Those pivot tables will show the open rate and other key data points so that you can show the team quickly what you've done and how well you've done. Designing your customer journey. How many touch points through the campaign? What are they going to be? Email, webinar, direct mail, phone call, social, content. Phone call? What? Yep. People still call these days. It works really well. You send that email and then you do a phone call. It's amazing how many results you can bring, especially when you see that a certain company is coming to your site regularly or they're opening up their email a bunch of times. Touch point there. Make sure you have a tracker on your email so you can see who's opening your email. We just did an ABM campaign internally at Hunter and Bard. We had a tracker on the email. We saw somebody who was opening up her email really often and sending it. So then I go to my LinkedIn to see who am I connected to at that company. Turns out I have a mutual connection with one of the people who was opening her email a ton. I reach out to my girlfriend. Hey, can you do this introduction? She reaches out to her friend who was opening the email all the time. And she goes, you know what? Now's not a good time. Let's do the introduction in June. June will be perfect. Scheduled it. I'll get an introduction to her in June. That's how that works, right? You have to watch every point. So content, social, ads to landing pages. How are you segmenting? Vertical, title, size of company. What content should be created? One of the things that we're doing for our own sales is the Hunter and Bard account-based marketing playbook. It's going to be even more filled out than what you're seeing here, and it's going to be available on the landing page. We're going to be doing sponsored posts, bringing people over to it. We're going to be doing an email campaign for it, and who knows, maybe I'm going to use this webinar in order to help sell it as well. So that's how we'll be pulling in our own leads. Content, targeted messaging, and helpful content. Targeted messaging, it needs to be on a personal level. Targeted messaging, engage them on a personal level. You are researching every single person that you're emailing. You are not doing this on a mass level. We went after 20 companies that we were interested in working with. We went through and looked up every person that we were interested in working with in those companies that fits our profile. right? We work a lot with product marketing. We work a lot with divisions. We work a lot with marketing managers and marketing directors. We have to build things that go up to the VP. So we do a lot of strategy work. We work with the VPs occasionally, but usually, since the companies we work with are huge, directors are running the section or the division. And for that, we know that exactly what they're interested in and what are the helpful things that they need. And then we build content along to help them, right? Everything needs to be helpful. Nothing is about us. We're not sitting there selling us. What we're doing is getting helpful information so that they think of us in a positive way, but it's not a sales type of interaction, if that makes sense. It's really just, I'm going to be super helpful, and hopefully you're going to think, oh, I'd really like to work with them because they are super helpful. Because that's, in an agency world at least, that's how we're able to get sales. Selling hard for us doesn't work. And also it's just unpleasant. I don't like doing it. So on top of it, multiple touch points. The more people have touch points with you, the more they're aware of you. The more they're aware of you, the more trust they have. Emails, we usually do a cadence of at least 8. That may sound like a lot to you, but we're not selling in those emails. We're sending helpful information. Most of the time, they're emails that are like, hey, these blog posts should be really good and helpful for you. Hey, I curated this and put it together for you. Here's an ebook. Here's a webinar you may be interested in. These type of things. It's not just, oh, boom, boom, boom. Come and have a demo. This, that. That goes further on once we see they're opening things and they're interested, but they need to actually show interest first. Clear handoffs with smooth transitions. Now, what does that mean? That means, how are you handing off from marketing to sales? It's a sales accepted lead. Sales has said yes. Now what? Okay, you do the introduction. The introduction needs to include next steps. You're going to meet on this date. Here's what you're going to discuss. Like all the next steps, right? And then you need to make sure afterwards that it actually happens. You don't just hand off a lead and pray. That's the thing here. You need to make sure you hand off that lead, that lead is followed up on, and you follow up with the salesperson afterwards. How did it go? What happened? What was good about the call or bad about the call? So that, one, you can adjust if things weren't as they should have been. And two, you make sure that sales accepted lead turns into an opportunity, which turns into a closed one. Not all salespeople are created equal. And while some of them are absolutely awesome and amazing and the best and you love them, others will take your sales accepted lead and maybe get a little busy and kind of forget to follow up on it. And then why did you just go through all of that? So if you're handing off something of quality, make sure that you're following up, that they actually got the experience that you were promising them through the entire marketing cycle. Right? You're promising something of very high value. Well, sales needs to deliver on their side as well. 9 times out of 10, they do. That's usually not a problem. But we all know that occasional time where it doesn't work out as it should. So follow up. Just make sure that things get done as they should be. Working together. You have to work together to make sure that these leads and sales grow. Okay? This is not just a one-sided thing. This is both sides. When the teams communicate, best practices emerge. Make sure you take notes on all of it. There you go. This is what you need to do in order to make sure that the sale happens. Thank you. Questions?
Shira, that was an amazing presentation. It didn't leave me with a lot of questions, but from my personal projects that I'm doing, and I'm trying to understand my audience a little bit, and I see that sometimes advertisement, when we have multiple projects, kind of pushes people away when you have too many things going on because it confuses them. Do you think it should be with especially with social media advertisement, should it be more focused every time on your audience, or it doesn't matter?
For account-based marketing specifically, yes, it should be. When it comes to social media advertising, it really depends on what the product is. And if it's account-based marketing or if it's regular marketing, because really it depends, right? Account-based marketing is incredibly specific. So if you're selling to the division of an enterprise, and you know exactly who you're selling to and the titles of the person, and let's say you're going to do a LinkedIn sponsored post, you want to make sure that everything that you're doing is specific to those people and leads them further down into the funnel. And you want to map out all the different touch points. So you're going to say, okay, we're starting this thing off with, let's say, an email. Then we're going to make sure that the people who see the email see an ad on LinkedIn or a sponsored post on LinkedIn. Take it further down. Maybe we'll also aim for them on Facebook, and we'll do these things on Google. So if they do this type of search, we'll send another email. Then maybe we'll find out their home address, since right now you can't send anything to an office, right? It may be a little creepy. It may not. I don't know. It all depends on how well you know your audience. And if it's not creepy, you send something to their house and it's something very specific, right? Because you need those multiple touch points. How do you buy? Think about yourself. How do you buy? If it's something expensive, right? Something super expensive, let's say you're going to do a kitchen renovation. You're going to be doing your research on this, right? You're not just going to take the first company that you see. You're going to be doing your research on this. You're going to be talking to people, and you need to build trust in the company that you're considering working with. So if you're going to be spending a lot of money on something, the more you see it in different places, the more trust you have in it. So it's actually good for them to see targeted, well-written, beneficial ads, right? Not just push, 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 sell, 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 which turns people off. So it may not be, Tatiana, that seeing the ads is what's turning them off. It could be the content of the ads themselves. I can tell you now, on a personal level, Facebook knows exactly what I like. And it is constantly showing me ads for brands that are parallel to the ones that I like. It's a problem, actually, because I keep buying. So it's the same thing in an enterprise realm when you're selling to enterprise. If you're giving beneficial information that people find helpful, they'll click, especially if you have the right timing for it.
Well, not really a question. More, you said that pre-internet, everybody was doing account-based marketing, and then it kind of differentiated, and now it's, I assume, for large businesses only. But would you say that it works better for some industries rather than others?
I would say it works better for sales size. If you have an account executive, if you can afford a team of account executives, because account executives are not cheap, right? You're not doing this for a sale that's $50. Yeah. You're not doing this for something that's like, you go to the website and you check on the list, basic, gold, or platinum. Like, right? It's not for that kind of sale. It doesn't make sense. You lose money.
So as I have the size, it doesn't matter what I sell, it will work for me.
We do we don't have a software, but as an agency, when you're working with us, we're also not, we're not $50 a month. We do account-based marketing. It works for us. We're aiming for a larger client for a larger long-term sale and a long relationship. If it's something so yes, basically, it works for anything that would be a relationship-driven account or customer. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I've realized, LinkedIn is not very popular in Greece, and nor is Twitter. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or it's that time it just doesn't sit well with people at the time. But I realized a lot more activity since the lockdown, both on LinkedIn and on Twitter.
Yeah, that's
which is quite interesting.
Because that's everywhere, because everybody's suddenly like, I have time. But it also makes sense. Greece is a small country where everybody kind of knows each other, or can find somebody else who knows somebody who, the sister, cousin, brother of the friend that, right? Yeah. So in places like that, LinkedIn is less popular. You don't need it. You're out of work? Go ask your friend who knows somebody at who this, that, and the other thing, right? On the other hand, in the States, very large country, I could sell to, well, and also we have clients worldwide. So I could be selling, we have clients in Australia. We've had clients in Greece. We have clients in Europe, Israel, East Coast of the States, California. So they don't have to be here. If you're aiming for a global audience, it makes sense.
Tell us a little bit about the course you're teaching at Berkeley.
So last semester, I taught marketing for technologists, which is basically explaining the process of marketing and the thoughts behind marketing and branding to engineers. I was in the engineering school, and it's basically teaching marketing to engineers because there's usually a disconnect between engineers and marketing, or engineering and marketing, or product and marketing, where the value of marketing is not understood, because marketing is a little on the esoteric side, right? The joke back in the day was 50% of my ads are totally killing it. I just don't know what 50%. Now you could track most of it, but you can't track all of it. And how do you show the value of a brand? Well, you really only see the value of a brand when you've done it wrong and you fix it. So we had a client that had an amazing product, and they were working on selling to enterprise, and they were not getting their foot in the door anywhere. So their head of sales, actually, it was somebody I'd worked with previously, and he's like, Shira, we need you guys. You need to pull them back to enterprise grade, because right now their website looks like there are 3 guys who are just doing something on the side. And, the logo was from 99 Designs. The whole thing was just bad. And they were not able to get their foot in the door because there was no trust there. You went to the website and you thought, these guys have no idea what they're doing. If you saw their logo among the logos of everyone else in their industry, it wasn't a fit. They didn't look enterprise grade. They didn't look trustworthy. They looked like if you decided to take this company, you were going to get fired, right? That's part of the process. It's a very emotional sale because it's expensive and long-term. And it's also expensive, not just in terms of cost to the company, but in terms of resources, right? When you are implementing a new system, who's going to be working on that system? Who's going to be training up the people on that system? Who's going to be maintaining the system? How are they going to be using it? Where are the benefits going to come from? How much money is it going to save the enterprise? Why do this? So if you don't look enterprise grade, that you're going to be around in another 10 years, why would a company put any money into you? We completely redid their brand. That's not just the logo, but the entire look and feel of everything that they did. The messaging, everything, start to finish, all completely redone. And that's when they started seeing the velocity of their sales that I had mentioned earlier, sales velocity, started to shorten considerably. The leads that they were able to get were considerably better. They were going further down the sales cycle better than ever before. And the companies that they were partnering with also went and got better. Everything got better as their brand got better. So these are things that are difficult to conceptually get if you are not on that side of things. If you're an engineer, you're thinking, well, the only thing that should matter is that the product works. But not everyone is an engineer, and that's not how trust works. But if you haven't heard of VHS versus Betamax in terms of back in the day before there were DVDs and before streaming and before all of these things, there were, so Betamax had a better system. It was by Sony. But it wasn't the one that won. The one that won was VHS. Brand matters, okay? In a blind taste test between Pepsi and Coke, Pepsi always wins. But actual market share and sales, Coke wins every time. It's got a considerably better brand. As soon as you take off the mask, your eyes affect your limbic system. Your limbic system is the lizard brain that is purely emotional and reacts to things and doesn't go to the logic center. So once that's initiated, it's a matter of emotions. And once you've got emotions involved, it's not a matter of what's the better system. It's a matter of which one do you feel better with. And explaining that to an engineer doesn't always, it takes time. They need to understand that it's not just what works better. Oftentimes it has nothing to do with that. So how about this? If you'd like to, if you have any questions or you want to reach out, you can find me, hunterandbard.com, HUNTERANDBARD.com. And you can find me everywhere at Shira Abel, ABEL.